How should we put ourselves in the best position, or things that anything that we should be doing to increase our percentages on this play? It could be something I did, something I didn't do. Like how should we all be thinking about trying to get these plays right? Or increasing our percentages, I should say.
Do you think if you would have, pulled up short, like, instead of going to the baseline, and you have the angle that we have now, have did that cross your mind in your, breakdown of the game film?
Um, so what I've learned is that in these type of plays, especially when we are working three man, like it's just best to try and beat the play down. Because unless I'm gonna stop right here,
Mhm.
right, then and even stopping here doesn't really give me the best shot at the play, in my opinion, because even though I can kind of see where the defender stops, I won't be able to see. I have back, so I can't actually see any space, any angle of any if he does clip him on the side or anything like that. So I'm gonna do my best to bust my tail to get down there, right? Maybe now is when I should have started slowing up, but I wanted to get my eyes to where I needed to. Cause see, by the time I end up, I can see on the inside of this play a little bit better. And also, if we're working three person, you know, worst case center should be somewhat in the picture and be able to see this opposite look from me as well too, if I really need
Agreed,
help, right?
agreed.
If we have two centers on this play, I don't think that helps anybody. All right. And I've also been burned where I didn't run through the play essentially. And maybe there's like a deflection, or maybe there's something and the ball just gets knocked out and then we miss that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I say. I think what does help me is the fact that I stay wide the entire time. I know a lot of times they tell, they want us to kind of start closing down. This wouldn't be a case where I would start closing down in transition, because the play is still on this. I'm still on the strong side of this play, right? And by me being wide, I can now have a little bit more time, a bigger picture to see everything from the defender, their feet, the offensive player's path, all of that. If I'm too close, if I end up right here on the 3 foot mark, I'm like so close to the play that I don't get to see top to bottom all the way. I'd probably literally have to move my head like this, and then I'm missing something in the split second.
I really like the timing of your whistle on this play because it shows that you saw it fully. Even with your eyes being on the lowest defender that's going to hurt, you never took your eyes off that defender. So you're already watching the legality almost when you were just a bit like almost at the white volleyball line. I would
Mhm.
say run it, like right
Yeah,
there.
right now.
You're already picking up the defender. So you talk about like what could you have done better? You're already doing everything that needs to be done well before you get into position because that player has an open lane. So where's the closest defender that's going to hurt? That one. And so when you're watching that defender all the way through, it doesn't catch you by surprise. Yeah, we're on the move, but that's a fast break bucket. So we have to do our best to try to bust it to the baseline or to the end line and just start making a judgment for there. But to me, it didn't surprise you because the timing of your whistle, you didn't blow on contact. You really started watching it all the way through and made a sound decision on this play.
And I still have my eyes to see how both of them land, how the play finishes, right? Even though I can see out of the corner of my eye that, the shot is missed, whether it's made or missed.
Uh-huh.
Let's say I don't see that. Hopefully we have help from outside officials to be like, hey, that's where you can help the crew. Especially if there's like a big crash and I have to stay with it, lead has to stay with that. Outside officials, be prepared to help out with like, hey, that basket was good or the shot was missed.
You know, th- this is this is spot on how do we officiate this play. The one thing I want to add, and Jocelyn asked a great question, was, could you have pulled up? Um, Marlon, I want to bring it back to just before the player launches. The reason why, one of the bigger reasons why, and I'll add two parts to this too, is that I don't like to pull up and get behind the play. Was one, Marlon says I'm looking at backs, but more importantly, if defender's right arm comes down and whacks him on the arm, you never see it. You never see it. No one sees that. You're the only one who has a shot at that part of the play. And let's add something else too. Let's put our partners in a part of this play. If I'm in center coming down, I'm like, yo, you get that part of the play, and I'll help you with if he hits him with the left arm. If he I can probably see a lot more of the lateral movement forward than you can, right? He's actually looking between the bodies, like, he has a better window right between the bodies more than you do. Marlon's still back to back. So, as partners, when you see let's go to the very beginning of the play all the way to when he steals it. But no, I think you do everything right mechanically to get down. But I would always add, like, as a partner, I always ask people's mindset, if you're a partner in center, what are you doing to help on this play? How are you assisting? And that has to be the mindset. And Anthony, you mentioned something really good. What's the first thing you do is get to the feet and kind of reiterate 2 feet down facing can't be the only criteria basing whether this player is legal. After the player goes airborne, the defender is still moving to the side, creating side hip contact with the ball handler shooter on this play, and that has to be that. This is not a play we can pass on at all. It meets the standard of a blocking foul, and this will stop them from trying to. Don't be fooled by the defender trying to put his hands up and then fall to the floor, fall into the side. Like, "Oh, I got hit in the chest." Yeah, you did, but after the player was airborne.
Yeah, kinda like I was saying too with this play is that what possibly could have made it a little bit tougher decision is, and we see this a lot too, is like this player launches but he goes straight to the basket, and now he flattens the defender. And a lot of times we're calling an offensive foul because of that, when in actuality, this defender is never legal.
So right here, if the defender, based on our rules, had the defender got where he is right here, and the offensive player changes direction into the chest of the player,
Different story, yeah.
right? The offensive player changes direction, meaning, Marlon, if you could draw arrow that
Yeah,
way, like
he goes
instead of going to the side trying to avoid him to hit, but he changes direction. I would consider, not saying it is, there would be a different discussion of whether it's an offensive foul or not.
and just to clarify, what I was talking about with the offensive player's flight or path is if he's going instead of going this way, he's going this way towards the basket like a normal play.
Right.
That would have made it tougher. But to what Kevin is saying, if he goes directly this way, almost towards the opposite free throw lane line, that is definitely more consideration for an offensive foul, I think.
So I mean, when you got these plays like in your game, play 'em at full speed like 4 or 5 times. Play it again. One of the things I always think about too, was there a beat prior to him getting there? Usually there's a feeling, even if on field, if you watch the player just before in full speed, you watch that before they launch, there's like a small pause before the contact. This doesn't have that. It's almost like the player launches and right as they launch, there's a contact. Those are indicators for me. That's how I look to see, like, there's usually some space between the launch and the contact that help me to make a decision, you know. And then when you look in slow mo, you actually see that there is still movement to the side.